After 3 long years of waiting, the second season of Squid Game from Netflix has finally been released. At the end of the first season, we all wondered, why didn't Gi-hun just take the 45.6 billion won and go to his daughter, but instead decided to return to the game? This season provided an answer as to why he made that decision. Also, in the new part, we observe his desire to expose the identity of the host and organizers of the game. However, Gi-hun doesn't even suspect that the one he's looking for has been right under his nose all this time. The Season 2 finale perfectly set the stage for the third, which is said to be the final one, and the post-credits scene shed light on what might await us in the future. Let's break down the ending of the second season of Squid Game and answer all the main questions we had after watching it. Let's start with the ending. When it came to the Season 2 finale, we always knew there would be a final third season. The creator confirmed last summer that the third part would be the last, so the plot of the second season wasn't originally intended to have a complete conclusion in the 7th episode, as the story was designed for more seasons. That's exactly why the finale seemed so abrupt. The death of Gi-hun's friend at the hands of the host was the culmination. It was a kind of punishment for the main character for the uprising he organized, trying to find the game organizer in the administrative sector. This was done to put even more deaths on Gi-hun's conscience, because that's exactly what has been tormenting him since the beginning of the season. His condition is worsened by nightmares in which he sees himself leading people to their deaths. The season's plot focuses on Gi-hun's desire to find the host in order to kill him, as well as those who organize the games. His goal is to stop the exploitation of people who are considered outcasts because of debt or inability to offer anything to society. Gi-hun wanted the participants to stop being eliminated for the entertainment of the rich and sought to put an end to it once and for all. The host entering the games disguised as a participant and choosing number 1 definitely alluded to the old man from the first season, who was also number 1 and the creator of the games. This move was intended to confuse Gi-hun and be near him without revealing his identity. In addition, the host tried to morally test Gi-hun throughout the season. For example, when Gi-hun was willing to sacrifice several participants to implement his plan to revolt and penetrate the administrative zone. This act contradicted Gi-hun's philosophy that no one should be considered second-rate, and that's exactly why a slight smirk appeared on the host's face when Gi-hun admitted that the battle they were fighting was doomed from the start. The main villain was going to betray Gi-hun from the very beginning, showing that he was only playing a role and remained true to his true nature. None of the Zeros team joined Gi-hun in the fight to penetrate the administrative zone, and several players from the X team were also eliminated. This means that when the show returns in the third season, the Zeros team will have an advantage in the new vote in the morning, and the games will continue again. The prize pool, accordingly, will be even larger. That's exactly why I believe the host allowed Gi-hun to stage an uprising. He had a similar philosophy, to sacrifice a few for the greater good. This was clearly manifested in how he treated the soldiers. An especially interesting moment was how the villain killed Jong-bai in the finale. He did it without the slightest hesitation. Although the host, pretending to be Il-nam, spent a lot of time with Jong-bai, which made the murder a little shocking, however, it showed how cold and calculating he was, and that all his behavior was just a game. This season, the actions of Gi-hun and the host largely mirrored each other. However, they were on opposite sides of the war, which emphasized their opposing approaches to achieving their goals. When it came to the host, whose name is In-ho, we heard a story, perhaps fabricated, that his wife was sick and dying, and he participated in the games to earn money for her treatment. On top of that, she was pregnant. However, in reality, In-ho's wife died, as evidenced by the scene where his younger brother visits her grave. This makes one wonder, was she really pregnant when she died? If so, this explains his worldview. Having lost everything he held dear, he could channel his grief and anger into the games, becoming a part of them. We know that In-ho participated in the games in 2015, and this may be related to his motivation. Perhaps he was remembering his original reason for participating in the games this season. Moreover, it is possible that his wife died while he was in the games, which made the win meaningless for him. We will probably learn more about his past in the next season, and this story is definitely interesting. In addition to Gi-hun and In-ho, the fates of many members of the X team remained in question by the end of the episode. For example, Dae-ho was paralyzed with fear when he returned for extra ammunition. He couldn't get close to the sounds of gunfire, probably due to post-traumatic stress disorder related to his past in the Marine Corps. We also saw that Joon-hee and Myung-gi reconciled, and a sense of care reappeared between them, perhaps hinting that if they get out of the games, they may have a chance at a life together with their future child. Hyunju was ready to sacrifice herself, shooting at the soldiers who broke into the room, but Yoonju stopped her. This means that Hyunju will remain alive in the next season as well. No, Il turned out to be an extremely interesting character this season. We learned that she fled North Korea, leaving her daughter behind. This became a source of deep longing for her and prompted her to become a soldier in the games in order to earn money to find her daughter and bring her to South Korea. However, finding her seemed extremely difficult. This story connected her to participant number 246, who also had a daughter named Nayeon, who was seriously ill and needed a bone marrow transplant. Since he was in the games, it can be assumed that he did not have the means to pay for treatment. No-Wheel, being a soldier, fulfilled her duty to eliminate players if they were eliminated, and saw some of the dark deeds of other soldiers who, in parallel with the games, were making money off the eliminated participants. When she saw that some players were being left alive for this purpose, she eliminated them to prevent the use of their bodies, which caused her to have conflicts with her superiors more than once. Her connection with 246 and his daughter prompted her to watch over him during the games. However, in the final moments of the season, we saw that 246 was shot after surrendering, and someone in a triangular mask, the same as No-Il had, shot him. The question arises, was it her? But, given her personal pain associated with the loss of her daughter, it is unlikely that she would have really inflicted irreparable harm on him. This character manifested itself earlier when she returned the red hat at the beginning of the season. Her actions hint that she was unlikely to deprive the girl of her father. Junho desperately tried to find a way to the island from where his brother, the host, dropped him in the first season. To do this, he collaborated with the captain, who seemed naive and really wanted to help. However, in the final episode, it turned out that this was not the case at all. The captain turned out to be involved in the games. This became apparent when he was caught doing strange manipulations with the drone, which they used to monitor the island. At night, he was caught at the scene, after which he eliminated the technician who discovered him and threw his body overboard. It is also worth remembering that it was this captain who found Junho when he ended up at sea. This indicates that the captain was involved with the games from the very beginning and was probably following Junho to control his actions. Perhaps the captain was trying to damage the drone because it allowed Junho to get closer to revealing the truth or finding another entrance to the island where the games take place. The drone was a key tool for safe surveillance, and its breakdown meant that the team would be forced to leave the boat, which would increase the risk of their death. Apparently, the captain will do everything possible to prevent for him to find another way to the island. In the post-credits scene, we saw 3 participants approaching the infamous doll from the red light green light game. In addition, a new doll named Chul Su appeared, which was announced by the show's creators as part of the preparation for the new season. Most likely, this scene is a teaser. Red light, green light will get a new variation, which will once again become the initial trial, traditionally leading to mass elimination. Squid Game was received with enthusiasm after so many years. However, compared to the first season, the second seems less impressive. This is because we only got part of the story, not its completed version. According to information about the filming, the second and third seasons were filmed simultaneously, but viewers were only shown half of the overall storyline. One of the key elements of the first season were the games, which brought tension and uniqueness to the series. In the second season, they received significantly less attention, which was an omission, especially given fan expectations. Some moments in the second season seemed to copy successful decisions from the first. For example, the scene with Abdul Ali's death in the first season was emotional and powerful. But the attempt to repeat this effect through the plot with the Yoonmi character in the second season did not have the same impact. It is difficult to give a final assessment of the second season so far, as its story is closely linked to the third. The complete picture will be clear only after the release of the final season. Despite the presence of diverse characters, this season failed to create the same strong attachment as to the heroes of the first season. Nevertheless, several characters had interesting story arcs, and their relationships with each other were captivating. Unlike the main storyline, their interactions became the most interesting moments of the season. Junho's story, feeling-wise, receded into the background, but it is assumed that it will be developed in more detail in the third season. This is a complex line, especially given that his brother is the person behind the games. If Junho had entered the games this season, there would be no plot for further development in the next. One of the striking elements of the second season was the music, which very accurately conveyed the atmosphere and mood of the scenes. When the melody that became iconic first sounded at the end of the second episode, and Eun-il turned out to be a soldier and not a player, it was a truly cool moment. The first 2 episodes of the season were very strong, and it was nice to see how the show smoothly and creatively brings us back into the world of Squid Game. The search for the recruiter was a fascinating element that stood out this season. The final battle between the Xyz and the Lames, as well as the clashes between the participants and the soldiers, were epic and spectacular, although the second season was a worthy sequel and definitely lived up to expectations. Most of the plot and feelings that we experienced in the first season are likely to appear in the final season. Season 2 was a great preparatory stage, and we are all waiting for the third to be even cooler. What do you think of the second season of Squid Game? Share your opinion in the comments. Thanks for watching, and see you in the next videos.